Hi, I'm Emily Kline. I'm a freelance editor, and you're watching The School of Fiction.
Hi, Emily. So glad to have you. You're my first freelance editor on the School of Fiction channel,
Awesome.
and
I'm excited.
I was looking at your website and I really like it. So we're going to go there pretty soon. Tell us how you got started with freelance editing. What drew you to it, and what your first steps were, and then tell
Um,
us about the work in general.
so I've been doing this for about 5 years. I was before that actually an artist, a jewelry artist, and I traveled the country on a converted school bus doing art festivals. And I was getting really burnt out with that because it's a lot of really intensive work. And I had always loved reading. And I was great with essay writing in school, and so I was considering doing proofreading part-time, to kind of give myself a break from the art stuff. And then COVID hit, and everything shut down, and I was like, well, maybe I just need to switch careers altogether. And so,
But it's a theme. It's a theme in a
yeah,
lot of interviews that I've done. Yeah,
yeah.
except
So
you were a good bit younger than when that happened. So
yeah.
yeah.
So I already had a bachelor's degree in art, so I didn't want to go back for another degree, but I did take, there's lots of courses that you can take um, for different types of editing. So I took some courses and I launched my freelance business from there. So, and that's what I've been doing full time ever since.
That's
So,
amazing, and it is not the easiest profession to get into.
not. It's a lot harder than I anticipated, but I've been making it work. So.
Well, we've been seeing, and I'm going to now find your website, because you have a lot of books you've worked on and a lot of testimonials, and that's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's if it's okay, let's start with that. It's that portfolio, right? The book.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's definitely not my most, it's not super updated at this point, but there is quite a bit on there right now.
yeah. So you have even more that you have to be put on here.
Yeah, I probably the last like half a year at least, I don't think I've updated it. So
Okay, well, I this definitely shows that you know what you're doing. And also there's a lot of wide variety of covers too. So excellent. Let's
thank you.
where would you like to start? Guide me through this. Where should I click?
Um, as far as to go to one for Amazon.
Well, I know I'm saying let's start with services. Okay, so tell us some of the services that you offer.
Okay, so I offer every level of editing from developmental down to proofreading. Um, Developmental is big picture things. So that's character development, plot, pacing, that sort of thing, making sure you're hitting all of the correct beats. Um, and then line editing is going through, line by line. So you're looking at sentence structure, you're looking at word choices, if anything is repetitive or redundant. You're going to correct all of that stuff and conciseness as well. Copy editing takes care of grammar, punctuation, spelling, all of those little tiny details. It also focuses on consistency. So if you've accidentally changed a character's eye color halfway through, a copy editor will catch that. Um, Proofreading is very similar to copy editing, but that's assuming you've already had other levels of editing, and they're going to catch the last few errors that were missed as far as grammar, spelling, and typos. I offer a package deal for 2 rounds of editing and I do this mostly for indie authors, that kind of combines the different types of editing. So round one would be developmental and some line editing, and then the second round would be some line editing and copy editing. I do ghostwriting as well. I don't do a ton of that. I do mostly editing, but I have ghostwritten a few books.
Yeah. I got to say, yeah, ghostwriting is one thing I never really wanted to take on. I find it hard to write something that didn't start with me.
Yeah, I find it
Perhaps.
easier in a lot of respects because it's the person usually has an outline and I just kind of run with that. So, manuscript evaluations, they're very similar to developmental editing. It's going to address a lot of the same things, but it's much less intensive. You're going to get a written report like you would with a developmental edit, but you wouldn't get the notes in the manuscript.
So for book formatting, we're going to say it's both for print and for digital formats.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, and so that's good. And we here's I'm just going to go to the testimonials here. So these are I assume that we saw most of these authors when we were scrolling through all the beautiful book covers.
Yeah, those authors.
Okay, so let's pick out an author and pull up the book. Who should I look for here? I'm going to get Amazon going. Who should?
Look for Nicoline Evans. She has a book called Cerebrum.
All right. So what is this book about, and what was it like working with? I saw that you've worked with this author quite a bit.
I have, yes.
So tell us about this experience.
So this is actually the final book in a series. I think this is a 5 or 6 book fantasy series. It's a world called Namate that has different races of people that are made of different materials. So there's rock people and glass people and metal people. Um, and basically they've warred among themselves for a very, very long time, um, trying to get, ultimate power over everybody, basically. But in the end, to make a very long story short, in the end, they have to band together to save the world against an even worse power. Um, and what's so great about these books is that one, it really mirrors kind of, I feel like, where we're at in the world today, where we really need to, before everything kind of goes south more than it has, we really need to band together and fix it all. But the world is so immersive and it's so different from a lot of fantasy that you read, um, because the characters are so different. I mean, these are characters who are made of, they're not even really human, um, but they're not the same species that you would normally come up against, like fae and werewolves and, all of that sort of thing. So,
While there are a lot of people who want to read that over and over again, I was
yes.
really intrigued when you said glass people because I hadn't
Yeah.
never heard of that one anywhere else.
Exactly. Yeah. And all of her, this isn't the only series she has. She has lots of other series. And they're all like that. They're all so, if you want something really different, I would definitely read her books.
Now, I just wanted to mention one other thing here, because I looked at this free downloads, and you have a lot of good free downloads here.
Yes.
Character development, plot development, and then this one, romance plotting worksheet. I recently did a video in which I explained and modeled Gwen Hayes romancing the beat, which is a plotting worksheet. I'm wondering, are you
Okay.
familiar with that?
I'm not. No.
Okay, because it is it's sort of the outline follows very much what you would see say on a Hallmark, which is something
Okay.
that I sort of I referenced that along the way. So this one is pretty cool, and I think it's also very cool that you're able to pick out a specific genre that has, of course, there are a lot of different versions of romance genre because I used to be a romance writer under another name.
Oh,
And
nice.
there were many different subgenres and lots of tropes and so on.
Yes.
Uh, so that it's really cool that you have something like that to work with.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so we have here is your EK editing, and you also make videos, as we see. You have a very busy TikTok, which I think this is your TikTok. Yeah, EK underscore editing, right? And
Yeah.
the talking head, which is the type that I've been making so far because I have to learn more TikTok skills. Then your Instagram is ek dot editor. So I met you on TikTok, so I met you through this profile. And
Yes.
there's a lot of options. No matter which social media it is that people are using, they can reach you that way. Definitely. Well, we agreed that you were going to do a craft lesson, and this lesson is for authors who are either beginners or intermediate who are going to move into having professional editing.
Hmm.
So, our topic today is how you, as an author, would prepare a manuscript for a pro editor like Emily to look at. So, Emily, take it away.
So the first thing that you want to do is self-edit as much as possible. and that probably it might seem like a little odd because you're hiring somebody to do that for you, but an editor can only do so much with the time that they're given, especially if you're only able to afford a single round of editing. So you want to go in and get as much of the big mistakes as you possibly can so that when the editor is editing, they're really just honing your book as much as possible. If you can get beta readers to look at your book and give you feedback as well, that's great. Um, because yeah, they can only do so much in 1 or 2 rounds. If you think about traditional editing, they have a whole team of editors going over your book, and so there's only so much that one person can do. The second would be to format your manuscript properly. Um, Most editors want you to have Times New Roman 12-point font, double space it, don't do anything fancy with it. You can save that for when you're formatting, but we need something really simple to look at that's easy to read. If you want to get a little fancy, you can do proper headings using words styles so that the headings are searchable. But beyond that, don't do anything strange with it. The other thing that you can do is make a list of your concerns. If you have certain areas that you know are weak points, or you have certain, plot issues or certain areas of your character development that you feel are weak, you can make a list of those concerns and give it to your editor and be like, hey, I really want you to focus on these things so that we make sure that we're giving you exactly what you want. Obviously we're going to look at all of it depending on what level of editing you're paying for, but if you're paying for a developmental edit, we'll look at all of it, but we also really want to hone in on the things that you want us to look at the most. The other thing that you need to do is really prepare to take criticism, and not everybody does that very well. I've heard stories of people paying, thousands of dollars for editing, and then they just toss it aside because they're like, no, I don't agree with any of it. I'm just going to keep my original, because they feel like they feel like they know better. Hopefully they didn't just hire a bad editor, because there are some out there, but it can be tough to take criticism, but you have to remember that an editor isn't there to tear down your work. They might tear it apart a little bit, but that's because they're looking for all the pieces of gold that you have in there, because they want to fuse it into something really solid for you. Um,
I'm going to tell you a story relevant to bad editors.
okay.
So there was when I was in my days, during the Kindle Revolution, I had a writer friend, and I forget exactly what it was. I helped him out in some way or other, and I wound up getting a dedication, in his book as one of the people he was thanking. And then when I actually got my copy of the book, I went through it, and it was all comma splices.
Oh no.
And he had paid X amount of money, and I wrote to him. I said, your editor didn't fix any of these. The whole thing is comma splices. What's going on with this? You really should try to get your money back.
Yeah.
So, so you know what he did, right? He stopped being friends with me.
Oh,
That's the story. That's the,
oh
that's
no.
that's what happened. Yeah, but I guess he didn't feel good that I knew he had been taken by a bad editor. It was too bad. He
Yeah.
was a nice guy, and if we had removed the comma splices, then there was nothing else wrong with the content. But
Yeah.
every sentence was a comma splice, every single one.
Oh no.
So we have to be aware of bad editors, and for
Yeah.
that, with that in mind, and we're starting with the very clearly you are a good editor. How can somebody spot a bad one, like in the early stage before you start paying?
Um, So one of the things that you can do, I see in a lot of groups, especially on Facebook, where people will post that they're looking for an editor, and they'll get dozens of responses of people just saying, DM me or I can help, and they don't ask any questions whatsoever about the manuscript. Never trust somebody who says they can help you when they have no idea what you're looking for. Um, so the second is look at their pricing. There are, relatively standard pricing ranges for each of these different services. If somebody is charging way under what they should be, which some people do, you have to question how are they making a living on that? Or do they really know what they're doing, or are they just trying to get people to get their services for cheap and then do, maybe run it through AI because there are people out there who do that. Um, and the other thing that you can do is get samples and do that for multiple editors. Get, a handful of samples so that you can see exactly what you're going to get beforehand. Not only to see if they're going to do a good job, but also to see who's the best fit because we're all different. We're all going to give you different feedback. Um, so you can really determine, how good of a job they're going to do ahead of time if you get that. So,
Yeah, AI is not a good editor.
yeah.
I did some experiments with things like writing my scene and then giving a description of the scene to ChatGPT and saying, "You write my scene," so I could see which one was better. Yeah, a human is better. And when it comes to editing, AI has no sensitivity, doesn't understand characterization,
Yeah.
cannot really vary its style remotely as much as it will tell you it can,
Yeah.
right? So we have a lot of people who are fakes or cheaters. A lot of them don't actually have good English skills. So they're just looking for a way to get whatever amount of money they can out of people who have more money than they do.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's a big yeah, the scamming is real, and I think it's for some reason as you can almost tell as soon as the person on social media says DM me or inbox me, for some reason all the scammers and all the fakes do that. And this is
Yeah.
why when I'm doing business with people, I always say, let's email because that distinguishes me from the behavior of the scammers. I think it's probably what I did with you also. We might have DM'd, I was like, let's switch to email because
Mhm.
that's more real and because people do things like stealing your account. They're using screenshots and going through DMs and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, which actually reminds me, another thing that you can do is request either a phone or a Zoom meeting. A lot of editors will do that. Not everybody does that, even if they are a legit editor, but there are quite a few that will do phone calls or Zoom meetings ahead of time so you can ask questions and kind of get, a little more comfortable because in many cases you're handing them a lot of money without ever meeting them face to face. And that can be uncomfortable. I get that. So to make you a little bit more comfortable with it, you can sometimes request that. So,
So, can I ask you the one challenging question? With this keeping in mind that I am here to promote you because I like what you have to offer.
mhm.
Professional editors are really expensive for indie authors.
Yes.
So can you give some perspective on this?
Um, so this is not a field that you can just walk into. You have to have training. There certainly are some editor people out there claiming to be editors that, just think they have good English skills and they read some books so they think they can do it, but it is specialized. You do need to learn a lot of different elements of storytelling and just writing in general to be able to do this. Um, and it's time consuming. If I tell you a project is going to take me 3 weeks, then that's 3 weeks of pay. Think about what you make in 3 weeks and what you need to survive on for that amount of time, and that's what you're going to have to pay somebody a living wage for that amount of time. There are certainly a lot of people out there who, I've had people approach me with, I have 100,000 word novel and I'm trying to pay somebody $200 to do a developmental edit. And it's just like, that's a whole month worth of work. Um, you know, so it is, cost of living keeps going up. So we have to keep raising our prices just like everybody else so that we can survive. I think most of us try to give you the most value for your dollar. I try to do some free stuff here and there. You do free blurb editing and like, oh, sure, I'll review this little section for you again. Not everybody does that, but I offer an editing package so that you're saving money as well. Um, a lot of us also offer payment plans because we do understand that you need to be able to pay rent as well, but it's really just a cost of living issue. So,
I'm going to throw out something that just came back into my mind because of what you were just saying, the 100,000 word novel. And I've had discussions with from the author side about this.
mhm.
It's too long. So nowadays, a lot of the genres are have a certain word count that is under 100,000, right?
Yes.
And so what do you do when you get a manuscript that is way above that word count? What would be your approach if you were asked to deal with the excessive length?
I mean, a lot of the editing process is just cutting things out that don't need to be there because you're tightening things up the whole way through. Um, but I mean, ultimately, the one good thing about being an indie author is you can do whatever you want. If you're trying for traditional publishing, then you absolutely need to meet their word count requirements. And 100,000 words, like for a fantasy novel, that's actually totally fine. Um, you know, if you're talking about other genres, then you probably want to reduce it a little bit, but that will come naturally through the editing process. So
So, in other words, would we say that if you have been asked to take the lead in cutting down something that's too long, is there a standard way you would do it, or is it just kind of like it depends on this manuscript?
it's completely dependent on the manuscript. Because sometimes you go in and you can cut a whole chapter or a whole scene. Sometimes you're going to do it paragraph by paragraph. Sometimes it's just a word here or there, and there's over 100,000 words that adds up to a lot. So it really depends on the writing.
Excellent. This has been a lot of fun, Emily. I enjoyed talking to you, and
Yeah, thank
yeah,
you so much.
all many and I've there's so many people out there who aren't genuine that when we have a chance to talk to someone who is genuine and give a real insight into the profession, to have someone I know that I can recommend who has a good track record and who knows how to put together communication, that's really very much appreciated.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate that too.
So
So,
yeah, if you have something interesting that you want to talk about, such as a new service, or then let's agree that you're going to come back. Just let me know what you want to do, and we'll put
sure.
together another interview like this one.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.